In connection with the Everyone's Invited movement, innocent young boys at Brower School in Australia were made to stand up in front of the whole school and apologise for rape. The General Secretary of the NASUWT, one of the largest teachers' unions, has even claimed that female teachers are being abused by male students and that schools are no longer safe for them. But if Everyone's Invited is truly inclusive, then it is odd that male abuse by females is largely being minimised. This is symptomatic of a wider cultural phenomenon. In 2011, Guardian journalist Barbara Ellen asked, "Do we seriously think that a female teacher sleeping with a male pupil is on par with a male teacher sleeping with a girl pupil? I don't." So much for equality. And many people, especially in the media, share her view. Female abuse of males is assumed not to happen much, if at all, and to be somehow less serious on the rare occasions it does. The evolutionary origins of this asymmetry probably stem mainly from the fact that raped women generally risk pregnancy, whereas raped men don't. It also stems from men's ability to overpower women. But now the focus is at least as much on the psychological damage to the victim, and mere lack of consent rather than being overpowered by force is the deciding factor. So it's not just an asymmetry, but an inconsistency. According to research by Stempel and Mayer, the incidence of non-consensual sex in adult men and adult women is roughly the same, 1.6 million and 1.7 million respectively. So where are the calls to teach women and girls not to rape? Why aren't innocent young girls being made to stand up and apologise at school? Merely suggesting that would cause outrage among the people who encouraged its opposite. Harmful, they'd say. But failure to confront the empirical evidence is indirectly harming the very people movements such as Everyone's Invited claim to aim at helping. To understand why, consider that in a study for the US Department of Education, Cameron et al. Found that around 43% of sexual misconduct by educators is perpetrated by women. The NASUWT probably aren't aware of that, and they'd be unlikely to mention it even if they were. In thrall to the narrative, they believe male students are more likely to abuse female staff members than vice versa. This is not just a problem in schools. The most common form of sexual offending in juvenile facilities in the US is male juveniles being sexually abused by female staff. Women inmates are also more likely to be abused by other women inmates than by male staff. A distinguishing feature of ideological thinking is its commitment to a position, not just regardless of, but in spite of evidence. So, why is this relevant? Well, a report presented at the 101st Convention of the American Psychological Association noted the extremely high rate of sexual abuse by females in the background of male sex offenders, approximately 80%. At least 20 to 25% of paedophiles are women, perhaps as much as 50%. There are roughly 13,500 men in prison in the UK for sex offences, a number that has roughly doubled over the last 15 years, but only about 100 women. Given that the majority of those 13,500 men in jail for sex offences were abused by women as children, there should be thousands of women all serving jail time as well. But there aren't. As with the abuse of adult men by women, child sexual abuse by women is generally denied or minimised. People don't like facing the facts. As Burroughs explains, the crime of child sexual abuse by women seems so unnatural that it offends moral human instinct. Women are more often viewed as victims rather than perpetrators of abuse. But if the problem of women's sexual offending against boys is not acknowledged, those boys will likely grow into men who will abuse women. The deeper problem here is porn. A decade of data from Pornhub and similar sites reveals that young women are more likely to watch more porn and more violent porn than young men are. With so much effort going into trying to change how men view women, perhaps some more is needed on changing how ultimately misogynistic strands of feminism lead women to view themselves. According to Jerome Carpaccio in his book Daily Life in Ancient Rome, as the Roman Empire fell, the rise of feminism meant that by copying men too closely, the Roman woman succeeded more rapidly in emulating man's vices than in acquiring his strength.